My name is Lisa, and this is my video out. We live in Amarillo, Texas, and it's a very, very red state. It's very conservative, very fundamentalist Christian. I grew up as a Christian. Got married young. I've been married for 36 years. I had 3 children, and basically we were just the normal little church-going family, very conservative, traditional. I had a daughter and 2 sons, and 4 years apart. Stayed home with them, did some part-time work so I could be with them. We were just very, very traditional. We were Christians. We went to the Methodist Church, which the Methodist Church has certain stances against the gay LGBTQ community. However, in the Methodist Church, we just really kind of don't talk about it. So it really never came up. We were never really against gay people. We just never thought about it. It wasn't part of our life. We didn't have any gay friends. I did have some relatives that were gay, and I had a friend that had a cousin that was gay, and we hung around, and we were fine with it. We never really gave it a whole lot of thought. But in the back of my mind, it was like, well, it's a sin, but we're going to love people. I'm going to love people, hate the sin, love the sinner. That was kind of our road. And so we weren't really against anything. We just really we never thought about it. It just wasn't part of our life. And but everything changed in 2012 when my middle son came out to me as gay. It was a shock to me, and it shouldn't have been. We were very, very close. But it did turn out to be a big shock. He came to us. He'd had some issues in high school, with some depression. I'd sent him to a counselor. He never said a word about anything. And he came out to us in a way, he was very upset, and I was afraid something was terribly, terribly wrong. Oh, sorry. And because of how upset he was. I thought he was going to tell me he'd been to the doctor, he had cancer or something. He was 22 years old, and so he wouldn't tell me. I kept kind of having to guess, well, are your friends okay? Do you lose your job? I was very concerned because of this conversation. And so finally he was like, just keep guessing, keep guessing. He didn't want to say it. And I said, just because I kind of had run out of things, I said, you're gay. And he said, yes. And he started crying. And my first reaction was, oh my God, is that it? You're gay? Oh, thank God you're gay. I thought you were sick. I thought you lost your job. I thought you're gay. Oh, can we go eat now? Because I'm starving to death. Because we were going to eat, and he said, I've got to tell you something before we go eat. And that really, truly was my first thought. Because this is my child. And I was like, you're gay. Oh, okay. In the back of my mind, I was kind of processing at that point. I was like, it was a little bit of a shock. I was like, oh, he's gay, he's gay. Kind of a thought that came out not too long after that in the back of my mind was, oh my God, my child's going to hell. He's going to hell. And then my thought was, wait, there's something wrong with this. This is my child that I've known all his life. He is a good boy. He would never make a choice on purpose to sin. The boy was confirmed twice in the Methodist Church because we moved, and when we moved, he had already been confirmed in our old church. We came to the new church. They did it at a different grade level, so he was confirmed twice. This is a good boy. He loves God. He loves Jesus. He wouldn't make a choice. So all of a sudden, I had a conflict within my heart, within my soul, that there's something wrong with this picture. And I even had the thought, and I had loved God since the time I was a little girl. I can't even put a time that I accepted Jesus and became a Christian, because I just grew up that way with a spirituality and a love for God and Jesus. And I thought, there's something wrong with this. This is not right. So I started doing research and looking at different points of view and reading different materials. and start, because I knew that my child had not made a choice. I saw the pain and suffering in his eyes when he came out to me. And I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was born this way. And if he was born this way, then other people were born this way. And this was not a choice that they were making. And there's nothing that you could ever say that's going to convince me otherwise, because I looked into his eyes, this boy that I loved more than anything in the world. I love all my children, but I was the closest to him. I know that sounds strange because I didn't know he was gay, but I knew there was something wrong. So I began this spiritual journey of studying and God speaking to me, and begin to, to learn new things about the Bible and the interpretations and how things could be wrong and how things could be interpreted differently. And I came together with my faith and my love of my child, because it actually came to a point where I was like, if I have to choose my faith or my child, God, help me, but I'm going to choose my child. But I thought, what kind of God is going to make me do that? What kind of God is going to make me choose my child over him? It just made no sense to me. And he would create him this way for me to turn my back on him. It made no sense at all. So I didn't turn my back on him. And I was able to confirm my faith and confirm my child at the same time. So I have to go back in time and tell you from the beginning. I have an oldest son. And you might have noticed I said daughter at the beginning, because my child was born and presented as a female. And throughout his life, he's transgender, so I'm going to start referring to him as his true self, which is he. There was something wrong. He was born in 1985, and in the 80s and the 90s, there was not a lot of information about transgender children. I knew something was wrong by the time he was 3 years old. By the time he was 4, he refused to wear dresses, anything feminine. He played with all boy toys. And we didn't have a problem with that. In our household, we were not real hooked on gender norms. If he wanted to play with Power Rangers and Transformers trucks, that was fine with us. That's what we got him for Christmas. We let him wear what he wanted to wear. We had no problem with that. My son that came out as gay, also liked to play with more feminine type of dress-up toys and kitchens and baby dolls and things, and we let him do that too. So we really weren't hooked on the gender, even, we just never had a problem with that. But as my oldest son grew up, it became apparent that there was something really wrong in his life. As he hit puberty, there was something terribly wrong. He went into a depression, had severe social anxiety, very sad. Eyes were very sad. Couldn't get him to talk much. Just a very closed up person. And I monitored him very carefully because I was scared of suicidal thoughts. But this was in the 90s. I went to the doctor. I said, this is what's happening. I went to the library because this was pre-internet days. So I went to the library and I did research. And all I could come up with was a gender identity disorder. They did not even refer to it as dysphoria. Back then, it was just a gender identity disorder. So I'm like, oh my God, there's something wrong with my child. We need help. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor says, oh, he's just a tomboy. He'll grow out of it. No big deal. But I knew in my heart there was something wrong. So all this time, my focus had been on my oldest child. What's wrong with my oldest child? I finally determined in high school that, okay, my child was going to come out as a lesbian at some point. So I was prepared for this. I didn't really I was prepared, but I sort of was in denial. I didn't really do research on it. I didn't think about it too much. I was kind of hoping it would go away, but it wasn't going away. And I knew that in the back of my mind. I just wasn't ready to face that yet. And so that's why I think I didn't pick up on my son being gay, was because I was really focused on my oldest child and what was going on with him. So when my son came out in 2012 as gay, by this point my oldest child had cut his hair, started binding his breasts. We knew this was going on. We still were not acknowledging it. We started calling him a nickname that went with, his name was Nicole, and we started calling him Nick, and that was fine with us too. We just really were not acknowledging what was going on. So when my son came out as gay, that same weekend, when my husband and I were processing all of this information, Nick was walking by our bedroom one morning, and I said, hey, come here. And I said, so what's the deal? Do you want to be a boy? And he said, Mom, I am a boy. And I said, okay. And then he started educating me. He now had terms to describe what had been going on with him since he was a small child. We said, we began to do the research as well. And everything started coming together. Yes, this is it, this is it. Oh my God, this is it. This just describes my child perfectly. He's transgender. There's a word for it. Thank God there's a word for it. And so, we started down this journey of accepting our children and coming into a new reality of who we were, which did involve, we stepped back from the church. We started going to another church where no one knew us, because faith was a really important part of my life, but I just didn't want to deal with the conflict at that time. It's changed my life in so many positive ways, and I want parents to know that just because right at first you may be surprised, you may be devastated that things are not turning out the way you thought they would. You need to remember these are your children, and maybe there's a reason for this. Maybe God gave you these children for a reason, for a bigger reason, for a larger reason, to come out and start to love on people, to love on this community, which is what I do. I wasn't out as a parent for a long time, and my children had a hard time coming out in where we live. But at some point, we said, I said that, and my husband is supportive as well, but I said, I felt very alone, because at that point I knew no other parents of children that were gay or transgender. And I happened upon an article on the internet and was directed to a group online called Serendipity Dudal for Moms. It's a secret group, and it changed my life. I had read an article that was written by a man that's a pastor for this group, and in the article it had quotes from these parents, these moms specifically, of how they felt about their children, how they felt about their faith, how they had, what the kind of, what they were going up against in their churches and against their families and their friends that weren't accepting to their children. And so when I found this group, I literally was in tears, because I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. I am not the only mom that loves her child. I'm not the only mom that supports their child and still has her faith, still believes in God. It completely changed my life to find that community of women that were supporting their children from all over the United States and even out in other countries as well. And then I came to find, as time went by, that there were others in Amarillo. They were deeply hidden, but we were able to find each other. There's not a lot of us, but I'm sure there's more that just haven't come out yet. But that group literally changed my life, because I knew I wasn't alone in this. And it gave me courage to stand up and to come out as an advocate for my child, and then as an advocate for other children, because I wanted other mothers to know that you don't have to give up your faith to accept your child. Maybe you need just to go back and relook at things. You need to rethink things. You need to think for yourself. The Bible says we have to work out our faith, and that was the process that, as a mother of LGBTQ children, that I had to do. But to know there were other mothers that were doing the same thing, it was just so empowering. And so I became involved in this group. And from that group has been outshoots of other groups. My shirt says Free Mom Hugs. There was an outshoot of Free Mom Hugs started within the Serendipity group, and has started its own group now, as well as several other mom groups that I'm in. And at first I was there to get help. I would post things and I still do when I need help with things. This was my community. This became my church. These were my people. And before I started knowing people in person here in Amarillo that I could talk to openly and honest about things, it's just been amazing. The second thing that happened was that we found a local support group for transgender people, which absolutely, again, changed our lives, specifically changed my oldest son's life, because he came to the group and was all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm not alone. There are people just like me in Amarillo, Texas, conservative as can be. There are people everywhere just like me. I'm a member now of a church group online that has started, I may be the only straight person in the group. I don't know, but they don't hold that against me. So far, they love me just like I am, even though I'm straight. So yeah, it's a group that a friend that I had met through the moms group, and she's a pastor. She's a lesbian, and she started a church in Tennessee. So I can't go to it, but I'm a founding member, and I watch online, and we pray for each other, and we support each other. And like I said, I'm not even sure that a lot of people know that I'm not gay, but not that much about me. But they love everybody, so it doesn't matter. There's just such an affirmation to know that you're not alone. The most important thing is that you have to love your children. I mean, these are your children. The ones that you said, when people said to you when you were pregnant, it's a boy or girl. Well, if you were had children in the 80s or 90s, you would be like, I don't know, I don't care. I don't care what it is as long as it's healthy. Well, so it turns out I thought I had a girl, but I didn't. I had a boy. Does that change the fact that I love my child? No, it doesn't. It was hard. It was hard, especially since that was my first child. And I probably would have recognized a lot more things if it had not been my first child. But, as a first-time mom, I didn't know a whole lot. So I did think at first maybe, just a tomboy grow out at this stage. But that was not going to happen. I thought to myself, I get to go talk today. I'm almost like a little celebrity in my group because I'm the mom that loves her children. And I'm like, that is so sad. I don't want to be known as the mom who loves her children. I mean, every mom should be known as the mom who loves their children unconditionally, no matter if they turn out to be gay or if they're gay, if they're transgender, if they're binary, if they're, it doesn't matter. That's my child. When that child was in my womb, I loved it and I didn't know anything about it. So it never changed the love that I had for my children. Not for 1 second did I ever consider not loving my child. I just had to figure it out in my mind. And then I realized that as time went on, I began to live kind of this new life. My box that I had been living in had been shattered. And I didn't realize what a small, tiny little box I lived in. I thought I was always an open-minded person. I didn't hate on gay people. I didn't go around preaching against gay people. I didn't really know anything about transgender people. So I thought I was this open-minded, loving person. But then I realized what a box I lived in. I remember back in the day, I'd go to the mall, and if I saw the kids wore the black back in the day, they'd go to Hot Topic, and shop. That's before Hot Topic got all mainstream. I'd be like, I'm going in there, stay away from those people, they're crazy, Well, since I came out of my box, I'm open to all people. I mean, nothing scares me now. I am the mom of a gay and transgender child. Nothing scares me, but it doesn't. I mean, I can walk up to anybody and start thinking. I used to be scared of people with tattoos, piercings. I was so open to not judge people. I thought I wasn't judging people before, and then I realized just how much I was, and how that box was this small, and it just got blown apart. And I am so grateful for that because of the people that I've met have been the most wonderful, accepting, loving people that I've ever met in my life. And I wouldn't know these people. I wouldn't have the opportunity to know these wonderful transgender people that I know had my child not been transgender. The amazing young gay men and women that I know and that are friends of mine, if my son had not been gay. I have a third son, and so I have to tell you that I'm a transgender son, I'm a gay son, and then my third son that I thought was straight, and I did. And looking back, and I guess I did put a lot of pressure on him because I would jokingly say, "Well, you're my only chance for grandchildren, still got you for grandchildren, which I think in retrospect probably hurt my other children as well because just because they're gay and transgender does not mean they're not going to have children. So my third child had always been not gender not of a gender norm, not very masculine. Wasn't into sports. Played with Barbies when he was little. I don't really think much about it because he was crazy about girls. He was always around girls. He had little girlfriends from the time he was 3 years old. Everybody joked about him being a lady killer, and But he did like to play with Barbies. And like I said before, we were not into gender specifics on toys and things, so that was fine with us. We bought him Barbies. He lost friends over that, where the friends would come over and the mom would see we let him play with Barbies, then they wouldn't let him come over anymore, and crazy things like that. But he had, at the time that all this was going on, he had a relationship with a young lady that was getting kind of serious. He was really young to be serious. He was only 18. But it kind of was getting serious. And then there was a really, really bad breakup. And he jumped right back into another relationship with another young lady who got serious really, really fast. And I knew this wasn't healthy. I could see things were going on here. This was not healthy. Something is wrong with this picture. Got engaged to both of them, 18 and then again at 19 years old. Well, I had a second really, really bad breakup with this second girl. And Mom was like, okay, I'm catching on to this stuff by now, okay? Oh, it takes me 2 children to start catching on to this stuff. So he never actually came out, let's just say that, because he had the second breakup with the girl. And by this time, we'd had some talks and stuff. I never came to him and said, are you gay? Of all my children, he was the most gay acting, the most expressive, as more identified as a gay person. Like if you saw him, you'd be more one to say, oh, he's probably gay, where my other son, not so much. But we really just never sat down and talked about it, because at this point, he was dealing with the breakups. I'm not sure, he wasn't real open about what he was dealing with, but I just kind of knew. And so one day, a couple months out of the really bad breakup, he comes in and goes, I'm going out. He was still living at home at the time, going to college. I said, okay, who are you going with? Who are you going out with? I'm going out with this guy named so-and-so. I said, okay, have a good time. And we never had a discussion. I was just, Mom knew, these girls he's trying to make this work, but this is not who he is. And then later we did. We sat down, of course, we talked about it. And he said, Mom, I think I was trying to be something I wasn't for you. I knew you wanted grandkids. I wanted to be the one who gave you grandkids. He wants children. He loves children. And that was one thing he wanted to do too. He's like, I'm just going to try to be straight because I want children. And I want them the traditional way. And then after the 2 really bad relationships, he realized that's not going to happen. He's not being true to himself. He has to be true to himself. He has to live true to himself. I felt bad that I felt like I'd kind of given him, put pressure on him, but he doesn't blame me for that. I mean, like, we have a really good relationship, and he is an incredible young man. All my children are incredible young men. They're just amazing. But when my 3rd child came out, I did go to the mamas and say, what did I do? I feel like I did have a moment of breakdown saying, oh my God, all 3 of my children are gay. I'm like this crazy person. People are going to think I'm crazy. They're going to stay away from me. And they do, a lot of them do. But I went to the mamas and I got so much support. And then so many of them started coming back to me saying, I have 2 gay sons. I have 2 lesbian daughters. I have a gay and a transgender. It's very much more prevalent than we think that siblings will be gay, or that you'll have more than one gay or transgender child. It is not as uncommon as you think it is. And even at our group, we did a very unscientific poll one day. At that time, we had about 1,000 people, and about 1/3 had more than one gay or transgender child. We now, by the way, have over 4,000 people in our group, and more moms are being added every week. So it's really amazing what's going on there. But I did have my breakdown moment, but the moms were there for me. And one mom specifically, bless her heart, she's the sweetest lady, and she's older than I am, so it's kind of a little mentor for me, came back and said, that's wonderful, welcome to the 100% Club. And I found out she had 3 children, and she had 2 gay sons and a lesbian daughter. And she has been such an inspiration to me. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I am in the 100% Club. I mean, now I'm proud. I'm proud. I just can't tell I'm proud. Got me earrings. Or from another group that I'm in, Freedheart Moms. You can get some too. It's really cool. I'm a little too much for my children sometimes. Like, Mom, you're gayer than the rest of us. You are more gay than we are. Like, they just go, they live their lives. They're like, they just go and they live their lives. That's why I get so very angry when people talk about the gay lifestyle. I'm like, what lifestyle are you talking about? The one where they go to work and they buy groceries and they go out to eat and they watch movies and they have a dog and a cat? Because I have 2 grand puppies and a grand kitty. So, yeah, is that the lifestyle you're talking about? Because that's the lifestyle I see. Looks just like your child's lifestyle. Only maybe, my children are all of them are successful. They all went to college. They all have jobs. I feel like that's successful. They have jobs. They 2 are in relationships. 2 are married. My 2 gay boys are married. I'm very proud of them. And then my oldest is not yet. I actually had the privilege this last summer. This is my youngest. Got married in Colorado, and I officiated that marriage and got to marry them. And so that was very exciting. Up until that moment it started, I thought it was going to be fine. And then when I very first started, I thought I was not going to make it through without crying. But the first few sentences, my voice was cracking, and then I was okay. My middle son that got married first, he's older, his husband's parents are not as supportive, and so I have a picture of me walking both of them down the aisle and giving them to each other, and it's pretty amazing. It's my favorite picture because we are all so joyful in that picture. I am so proud to be giving that child away, my children to each other. And unfortunately, my youngest son, his husband as well, does not have supportive parents. In fact, they're not in the picture at all. And when he came in the picture with us, my son started dating him, is when his parents kicked him out of his house. And we actually brought him into our house. He lived with us even before they got married and before they were really involved with each other. And I told him he was my son, and I called him my son. And then when they got married, I said, I'm going to have to start calling you my son-in-law now, because it's going to be a little weird if I keep talking to people and telling my son is married to my son. That might be a little strange. So now you're going to have to be my son-in-law. But I already told my actual son, now, if y'all ever get divorced, sorry, but he's staying in the family. I mean, that's just the way it is. He's my son. So, so I have 5 sons now. This is amazing. And then I have just to top things off, people don't think I'm crazy enough, that I have 3 children in the LGBTQ community. I also have a 9-year-old, what we call bonus daughter, and we adopted her. And she has 5 big brothers. And until she really started elementary school, she didn't really realize that not everybody has 5 big grown brothers. Kids would talk about their brothers, and they were little children and stuff, and she had no idea that not everybody had these big brothers that were all grown and take care of her, and they're kind of like uncles to her, really. My oldest son still lives at home, he has a job and he pays rent, but the other 2 are independent and have their own houses, and but she goes and spends the night with them and stuff, like uncles, really, more than brothers. But it's pretty amazing. And what's really amazing, I think, about her is that she's 9 now, and up until last year, I don't think she really knew there was gay and straight. She did kind of, because she almost got kicked out of preschool. She was in a Lutheran preschool, which is a really great school, and so we just let her go to preschool there because we didn't figure this would ever come up. But they were playing one day and playing house in the little play center with another little girl, and so she was marrying the 2 boys in the house. And the little girl said, boys can't get married. And she said, yes, they can. And so they had a little squabble in the Lutheran school, which this was not an affirming Lutheran church. So we had a little talk with the teacher, but they let her stay. But other than that, she really never thinks about it. We've told her girls can marry girls, boys can marry boys, and girls and boys get married. It's like matter of fact. We want her to grow up matter of fact. There's nothing wrong with any of this. And so, but we were watching a movie one day, and they talked about being straight in the movie, and she turned around to me. She was like 7 or 8 years old, and she said, "Mama, what's straight?" And I was like, "Yes, I have raised her right." She doesn't know what straight is. And I said, "Well, that's just when boys and girls marry. You see them in the movies and stuff." She's like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "No big deal." She just didn't know. She didn't know the word. It really hadn't come up. So I thought that's pretty amazing. I just love that. But and we jokingly say, it appears right now she's 9 that she's probably going to be straight, but we're going to love her anyway. It doesn't matter. Because she's already had a crush on a couple little boys. Because we've kept it open, like, do you like anybody at school? Do you like any boys? Do you like any girls? And it's been boys so far. And she even said, when I explained to her what straight was, she goes, "Mama, I think I'm straight." I know. I was like, "It's okay, baby. We can love you anyway, even if you're straight." I think one of the most pressing issues is equal rights and protections under the law, because just in the last couple of years, things have just seemed to have been gone backwards in time. When my kids came out in 2012, there was a lot of hope. There was a lot of protections that have been passed in just the last couple of years. We were going into the next 4 years where there would be a lot of protections passed, and a lot of hope and positivity for our community, for the LGBT community. And we even got equal rights for marriage, which was so amazing. And but in the last couple of years, just the atmosphere has changed, and I'm very concerned about their rights and their protections under the law. So I'm a member of a lot of different groups that are fighting for those rights. Equality Texas is one that I'm very involved in, and HRC. There's some others in Texas specifically. I try to work specifically in Texas, but to protect those rights, especially when like the bathroom bill came up a couple years ago, and it's been just a year or two in Texas. I have some friends that fought valiantly for that. I have a friend that went down and spoke in Austin. She has a transgender child that's young, and so I try to stay involved politically, where I can say in my old life, I really never paid much attention to political things, but this is very important. This is the talking about the lives of my children and the children just like them of all ages, and so I think that is a very important thing that we've really got to pay a lot of attention to and continue to fight for protections under the law.